What is up? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shred Show live. I cannot tell you how excited, how enthusiastic I am because I have the spectacular, the one, the only Sue Woodard hanging out with me this morning of Total Expert. And if you know her, you already love her. But now you get to hang out with us this morning, and we're talking about something that is so critical right now that literally is probably more important than most things within our industry, and it's knowing thy customer. Now more than ever, in this world, in this mortgage world that we live in, you have to know them. You have to understand them, what their needs are, and we're going to be diving into that today on the Shred Show. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to want to miss this. You're going to want to tag all your friends. You're going to want to share this out to all your partners because literally this is an episode you are going to want to come hang out. Are you ready? Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? It is time to shred. Let's go. I am literally like a kid in a candy store this morning. When I'm hanging out with Sue Woodard, it's always a good time. What is up, Sue? How are you this morning?
Things are going good. You know, just living the dream. I'll tell you, I rarely run across anybody that's as excited about the mortgage industry as me. And it's you, bro. I love it. It's been a while, and you are like a triple shot of espresso. So I'm loving it.
Glad to be here. Thank you. It is always when the two of us get together, when we talk about more, this has become our life. This has become our lifelong calling. It's our passion. And that's hard to say because when we talk about mortgages, like really, like, is that your passion? And it is, but we've dedicated our lives to it. And for those who may not know you, I'd love to start this way because you have had such a diverse run within the mortgage industry. For those who don't know, you maybe give a quick background on Sue Woodard, how long you've been in the industry, and you've been with Total Expert for a long time too.
Yeah, I've been with Total Expert for 3.5 years now, but been in the industry for 30 years now.
No one would ever, guys, she started when she was 1. So that was born in the industry. So come on.
I wish, but I'll tell you, but it's awesome. I started actually as a processor. I was an originator. Got to do a lot of interesting things over the years, and joined Total Expert about 3.5 years ago. I've been our chief customer officer during most of my time here, and recently transitioned into taking on what the role had kind of was unofficial, but I made it official that I'm now our chief evangelist. And so just out really advocating for the brand, evangelizing, and sharing all the good stuff that's happening at Total Expert.
Well, and that's exactly what we're doing today is we're going to be talking about a topic because in this world of craziness, in this busy world, in this evolving world that we live in, especially in mortgage where, we talk about rates, we talk about relationships, we talk about this, that, and this, but now more than ever, understanding the customer's needs, knowing thy customer is more important than ever. And like you said, evangelize, you get to do this. You get to share so much valuable information with our industry. And you do it from such a great place. From the heart is really where it comes from you. And Total Expert does have this plethora, has this system, has these processes in place for all of you listening today. And we're going to be getting into that, but very excited. And real quick shout out, John Hill, 2 of my favorite people right here. What's up, John? Good morning. We have people that tuned in from Twitch this morning. Our Twitch viewers, what's up? Good morning. Hashtag Total Expert. So 30 years. Wow. Didn't know that people started at 5. I know. See, even that people Sue started when she was really young, ladies and gentlemen, just so we know that. But let's kind of talk about this, Sue, because knowing thy customer, this is one of those things where it's kind of always in the back of our mind. We're like, of course, it's more like we need to know our customers, but it goes so much deeper than that. And we talk about successful lenders and really knowing their customers, but let's break that down. Let's really start to understand it. Why does that matter? And where do you actually start when it comes to knowing the customer?
Well, a couple of things on that is I think especially given where we've come from, and again, having been in the industry a long time, we've been through these cycles and just kind of coming from 2020 where we had this incredible refinance volume. And we were almost standing in a money machine. It's like, and I've been through lots of those cycles when I was originating, but none quite like last year. And so I think what happens in that, we get some muscle memory of just like, how do we just get them through? Like the best thing we can do for our customer is just get them through as fast as we can, get them closed, get things done, right? And we start to kind of lose a little bit of some of that, really understanding who that customer is and what their needs are, because we almost turn a little bit transactional because we have to, because there's so much volume happening, right? So as
Right.
we're looking forward and seeing that, that volume is going to drop, right? And it's going to change more into a purchase market. And, especially in the purchase market, I know we know this, but we have to fight that muscle memory of where we've been for the last 18 months, right?
Yep.
Is really kind of returning to remembering that people are going through a life experience when they're purchasing a home. You and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
People are getting married, getting divorced, having a kid, getting a new job, move. I mean, lots of people are moving, right? And it's a life experience. I mean, everybody listening has probably been through it, right? You've moved.
Absolutely.
And there's something happening in your life, right, when you move. And so we have to really go back and kind of remember how to really connect back with those people. People choose to work with people. People don't pick a company, they pick people. And so if somebody's going to say, hey, I want to work with Josh because he knows me, he understands where I'm at in my life, and he's going to help me through this, somewhat emotional. Sometimes it could be an emotional time for people when they're moving their family, moving their home, changing neighborhoods. There's a lot going on. And so we have to return, again, fight that muscle memory of just, get them through the system and really return to understanding and really knowing our customers.
Well, and that it's not just like pushing them through the system. It really is when we talk about knowing them, when we talk about their needs, we talk about, like you said, it's an experience. Every one of us, most of us as mortgage professionals have gone through the home buying experience. So we can really when we walk people through it, it's different. But when we really turn it to ourselves and we think about what was my last home buying experience like? Whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, most of us, again, on average, we move every 5 years. We've gone through that experience. Many of the mortgage professionals. I actually learned last year, I didn't know if you knew this, Sue, but I found out it was roughly, this is again, rough number I heard, almost 60% of mortgage professionals made a move in 2020, which I was like, really?
That was time.
That's what I was like, holy cow. I heard that number and I was like, that can't be right. But anyway, think about it. If you made a move recently, think about that experience. How was it for you? And start thinking about too, what were some of the pain points? What are some of the things that you can really understand? And really, when you're digging into this data, trying to really understand what the customers, what is it that you are looking for? What are you personally looking for when you go through a mortgage transaction?
Well, some of the things that I think are important, again, for us to remember is our communication. I think to us as mortgage professionals, and it's a good reminder when you go through it yourself, but we're not as freaked out when we haven't heard about, the appraisal coming in or the title work, or did I get my final approval? Because we know it's all going to happen. We kind of know the drill. But we forget sometimes, because we do this all the time, the person on the other side of this is freaking out, right?
Yeah.
They're wondering, am I going to close on time? Is everything okay? Did the property appraise out? And so I think you just can't communicate too much. Again, remembering the very human part of this. And, the cool thing, you and I have chatted about this before, that's the beautiful thing about putting technology in place to have 100%. Those great conversations. Technology is not here to replace the loan officer. It's to empower the loan officer to have those communications. That they're going to take place. Those are the things that drive satisfaction, repeat business, referral business, how that customer is going to feel about you, your company, doing business with you again. And so technology is here to support that, but it doesn't take the place of it. It actually allows more time for you to have those very human interactions with that person when they reach out their hand, that you're there to actually grab it and take that phone call from them. And we can dig a little bit more into the data too, because I've got some thoughts on that.
Yeah, so let's dig into that. Because what are the data? What are the nuggets that you're looking for when you're having those? When you're actively listening, what are those things that you're really, really looking for that can help you through that process?
Yeah, there's a couple of different ways I look at data. We get an unbelievable amount of data during the loan application, right? In fact, the first time you're meeting somebody, you're asking questions that your parents told you. Don't ever ask people these questions because they're rude. Don't ask how much you make and how much money you have in the bank. Rude, right? So we go there and we go further, right? And so, we're gathering all this amazing information. And again, I know you've got a lot of experienced professionals listening, that you've got to read between the lines. What's being said, what's not being said. How many kids do you have? Have you planned for college? How much should you be putting down? All of those things that become that strategy. But what's very interesting is I hear a lot of talk about, how do we take this data and use this data? But I don't think there's been enough conversation about how about we ask the customer more questions about where they're at in their life, like being proactive, right? We've got this kind of cool new thing that we've are launching into Total Expert called True Intent, where instead of just taking all their data, which a lot of times they're inputting it themselves, right? With a lot of the cool new POS systems, they're inputting it themselves. So you're not having a conversation. So you've got a bunch of data, but how about actually asking them questions to say, hey, which is, what are the things that are most important to you? What are you most stressed about? And kind of taking them on a journey based on what they tell you, right?
Ooh,
It's
I
a
like
little
that.
innovative, but you think about we've almost gone, the pendulum swings, right? And I feel like we've swung this pendulum so far towards everything's got to be AI and let's analyze the data, which is powerful. It's really good. You can have incredible
Sure.
insights and actions you can take off of that data. But there's also a world of data that you can get by, asking the person questions that are not on the 1003, but asking where are they at in their life? What is most important? What
Wait,
phase
Sue,
of
we
their
don't just
journey?
have to follow the 1003. That's not our Bible. We don't have to go to that thing to a T. We can go off the script a little bit. Imagine that.
Well, we've lost something, I think, and like I said, I'm a huge proponent, obviously, of making the process. In fact, I went through, we purchased a property actually in the last year, since you mentioned it. And it was awesome to be able to go through that experience and be able to enter everything online. So it's good that we've gone digital in that way. But I think we do need to remember, again, we're still people dealing with people. People are human. People are going through something, it's again, a tumultuous time. It's a lot of money. Better to ask some extra questions. And if you can find some ways using technology to ask those questions about, again, what's most important to them, is this just the things about where their life is at, so that we know how to educate them more. It's part of why I love this business, is that we have the ability to educate people about one of the largest financial transactions they'll ever make in their life during a time that is a little bit emotional for them. And so again,
Absolutely.
asking and again, utilizing technology to serve up the information so that you can put them on the right journey, educate them, and be there for them with the right message at the right time.
Oh, absolutely. And then that's just it, is educating them, helping them to understand, because again, we do this every single day. And actually I got a quick message as we were doing this about my stat from the actual source. And here's what it is. I was wrong. I'm going to admit I was wrong here. It was 62% of mortgage professionals went through a mortgage transaction. They didn't move, but they either bought a new home, an investment property, or there you go. So I think, thank you for correcting me. He says, don't say my name, but I want to make sure I'm correct there. But you're talking about something that, as you're getting to know the customer, as you're getting to know their challenges, the good and the bad, we almost, as you and I were getting ready for this, talking about it, you need to know the customer's heaven and hell, because it can be hell. Like we've heard those horror stories, we've heard those transactions that are just like absolutely terrible. And we're like, that didn't really happen, did it? But they do. And understanding the good, the bad, and the ugly, understanding what makes them tick. And like you said, asking them. I remember when I was in the weeds, actively engaged every single day and working with clients, helping them through the mortgage process, asking them, being like saying, hey, Sue, help me understand. Like, what are the things, like, what are you most worried about? What is your biggest concern as we're going into this, and helping them through that journey? I love the word journey, because we're seeing that more adopted in the industry, and we need to. It is a journey. It's not just it's not a quick process. It's becoming more efficient, but there can be the good and the bad, the heaven and the hell of this part, right?
Yep. And we have to remember that the terms, when we throw around terms like approval, money, home, credit, like these are stressful terms. They're like triggers for a lot of people, because those are, very loaded terms. And so, yes, it's understanding their heaven and their hell, and remembering, I think a big part of this is really mapping out and understanding, what does that journey actually look like for your customers? What do you want it to look like? And where are the gaps, and how do you start plugging them in? Right. There's a cool survey I saw. It was actually a Strathmore survey that they run every single year, where they talk about some of the things that cause people to want to continue doing business with you, repeat and referral business, or what would cause you to give a bad recommendation to you. And one of the very simple little things is getting a phone call prior to closing. Right. Really? And sometimes, again, and like I said, nobody's a bigger proponent of technology than me, but we have to remember, people are people, and making that last phone call prior to closing, that's one of the last things that people will remember, is that you sent them into that closing experience informed. So I think it's mapping out that whole journey, and don't get crazy with mapping it. Get Post-it notes and Sharpies. That's literally what we even did here at Total Expert when we were mapping out our own customer journey, is map out what that journey looks like. What does it really look like now? Be honest with yourself. Map out what you really like it to look like, and then start figuring out, how do you start closing those gaps? Do you have something that is helping you automate all those communications, even automate some of those extra questions with something like our True Intent, where you're really going a level deeper, so that when you can make those human connections with them, that you're really providing exactly what they need at that time.
Well, and this is such a brilliant point. You started to kind of segue where I wanted to take this, because once you understand their needs, you're like, okay, I understand. You told me this, and this. You actually listened. You were actively engaged in listening, which is a critical point of it. How do you start to create a plan for success? You mentioned, identifying gaps and starting to document, starting to map it out. But how do you really create that plan of success?
Well, you know what I would also look at, all of you listening probably have something that you're using, right? I mean, obviously I'm a little partial to Total Expert. I can't help it.
Hey.
But whatever it is that you have, and if you don't have something like that, I hope that you do start to, let some of your leadership know, we'd be thrilled to talk to them about what we're doing at Total Expert, of course. But take advantage of the tools that are there. Generally the companies that you're working at have invested a lot, or you've maybe invested a lot into having systems. Make sure that you've got, the right tech stack, and utilize the tech stack that is there, and find out what can you start to automate, what can you start to, put into place. And again, not to replace you. You've probably heard us say this. You've heard Savage say it too. A mortgage coach, technology isn't here to replace the loan officer, but the loan officers who leverage technology will replace the loan officers who don't. And so it's here to empower and make you better, right? So you find those gaps, you find out what is it that I have either, at hand here that I can help plugging in those gaps, or what is it that I need to start instilling? I mean, this goes back to when I was originating. This is exactly what I would do. Is I would say, okay, how do I fill that gap in? All right, is there a technology for it? I mean, at the time we had ACT, right? So trust me when I say things have come a long ways. I wish we had things like Total Expert back then. But, if whatever it is that you have, figure out how you're going to start plugging those gaps. But it's also about continually evaluating those results, seeing how you're doing, surveying your customers, find out where you're missing it, and lather, rinse, repeat, up your game. And I know people will say, I don't have time. Like, I totally get it. And sometimes I tell people, take a fake sick day. Like, if you got sick, right? If you got sick and you were, out of pocket for a day, you got bad stomach flu, ate bad Chinese the night before, sick for a day, the world would not end, right? Wouldn't end. But you would have taken, a full day for nothing. Yep. What if you did that? What if you just said, hey, the world's not going to end if I take 8 hours? That's all this takes, is you can map out most of this in 8 hours and start to see where those gaps are, and start, drawing the gaps and figuring out how do you start prioritizing and filling those in.
Yeah, and that's just it. And Trent, best communication for sure. The 3 C's: present clients, future clients, and past clients. All things to think about. Trent. Absolutely. Another technology is not here to replace you, but to help you serve your clients better. That's exactly what it is. You and I both heard Dave Savage talk about that. It's something that we continually see. And a lot of questions come from the mortgage industry. Oh, it's getting better and better. AI is improving. Yeah, of course it is. But again, it's not going to replace us. You can't. People need that human interaction. They need that relationship. They really, really do. Like, as much as you think that you're like, well, hey, I could do this all from my phone these days. You can, but we're seeing the numbers because, to Sue's great point, we're polling audiences, we're talking to consumers, and we're seeing they still like that conversation. They want to get to know Sue. They want to get to know Josh. They want to get to know Trent and John. They want us. We crave, as human beings, we crave that actual relationship. Just like you and I were talking about coming up here, the conference or the event here in the mortgage industry, the season is just around the corner. We're all looking forward to getting back into seeing each other in person, to having those real relationships, those real conversations. Yes. That's what we crave as human beings. So to your point here, this is something that we continue to, once you have all the data, once you have these metrics in front of you, you need to continue to create that journey. And something that you guys have is even a journey creator in itself that actually, again, talking about technology, this can help with that flow for originators, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's about intelligent automation. The worst thing that you can do is have the wrong message go out, at the wrong time. Right. And a lot of the old style drip campaigns, boy, you're going to, drip this thing on their head 10 times and then it's all over. Journeys and modern technology is going to help you create an intelligent journey, an intelligent automation, so that when this happens, then you do this. When your customer tells you something, like through, true intent, you can say, okay, based on what I heard here, I understand that this is a person who's concerned about their credit. They're a first-time home buyer. They're looking at this. And so I'm going to send them off down this journey that's appropriate, not send them the same thing that I'm blobbing on top of everybody else's head. Right. I mean, something is better than nothing, but we can do better. The technology is there, and we actually can do better and be more intelligent to, again, deliver that right message at that right time. We talk at Total Expert about data, insights, and action, and that's what it's about. So a lot of data out there. We've got ways to gather even more rich data. It gives us insights. and then you can take those actions.
See, and that's where the future of the industry is going. You and I both remember the days when I remember our first CRM. I'm not going to say any names, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I have something that's just going to throw information at my clients. Like, and they're all getting the same information at the same exact time. And they're just like, I'm getting messages like, what are you? I just moved. Like, it wasn't perfect, but we were just excited back in the day. I remember I was like, I finally have something. I can stay in front of my clients.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, Sue, like we as an industry are slow to adapt and to change. And now the technologies and what Total Expert is doing to help us, like we just need to start implementing. We need to start utilizing it right in front of us. Because to your point here, once you have your plan drafted, you have it implemented, how do you keep it going? How do you keep moving forward successfully and efficiently?
I think a big part of it is it's just, it's like anything. It's blocking out the time to do it, because I mean, we all fall prey to the same thing because we're human, we're people too, right? And so you're always working on the most urgent thing in front of you. And I know the most urgent thing in front of you is, even when you're done listening to this, you will have gotten 10 more emails and a couple more voicemails and a few more text messages and some pings on social media. I get it. But I think if you block out that time to really sit down and say, okay, what is it that I'm doing really well? What is it that I need to do to up my game? In fact, we do have something that I think you're putting the link here right in the podcast. All right. Awesome. We've got a really cool resource that you can link to. It's a free resource. It's called the Do's and Don'ts of High Performing Loan Officers. So we did a lot of, exactly. Right on. We did a lot of studying around what are the things that really set apart those top producing loan officers. We have a lot of them in our Total Expert family, and really came up with 4 key things that they're doing really differently. And it speaks to some of the things that we're talking about here. But a big part of it is, it's carving out that time. It is, I've got time blocks set on my calendar for the rest of the year for things that I know I need to work on. There's always going to be something more urgent in front of me, but they're some of the most important things. And I think particularly right now, as we know the market is turning, again, we've got an experienced, group of originators, I'm sure, that are listening here. We've been through this before. And we always, you kind of live like the refis are never going to end. We know they are. And so now is the time to kind of, again, defeat that muscle memory, right? Of how we're treating refinances, remember purchase, and make your moves now, lay your groundwork now, make sure that you've got the right technology in place and that you're taking the right actions in order to, really succeed as the market starts to contract and there's going to be a little less business to go around.
Yeah, right here, ladies and gentlemen, you can go get these high-performing loan officers, the do's and the don'ts, like Sue is talking about. This is a free a document that you can get that's going to help you. All these things that we're talking about, all these little tidbits, that's what makes the top 1% differentiate themselves from the rest. So go do it right now. The link is below. The link is in all the chat, no matter if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, wherever you're at, click the link below so you can get more information. And as we start to wrap things up, Sue, we've talked about so many different points, so many critical pieces of all this. What are some of the things that, and something that I want to highlight here, you've talked about the journey. You've talked about so many points, is make sure that your customer, make sure that they are the most important thing. They're the star of the show. It's not you. Yeah. Yes, you're the mortgage professional. We understand. We think you're the hottest stuff around. Cool. But make sure you make your customer feel that way too.
That's right.
Like it's
100% right. Yeah, you can only have one hero in a story. And it's interesting because everybody listening, you're the hero of my story, right? Is all the originators out there. I mean, seriously, you're the hero of my story. I'm not. And you've got to do the same thing for your customers. Make them the hero of your story. We say, how do you do that? Think about even what you're doing on social media. It's very easy to be like, hey, I'm the coolest and I'm the greatest. And it's it's cool to, blow your horn once in a while. But think about we're in a business of stories. We are in a business of stories. There's stories happening. People's life stories are happening every single day. Like if I asked any one of you on this call, I bet you have some crazy story going on right now, or some amazing story, or a heartwarming story, or a sad story, or something. We're in a business of stories. Tell those stories. Just like you mentioned earlier, Josh, people are attracted to people. They're attracted to, it's one of the things I love about your podcast is we can actually see, right? It's digital eye contact. So it feels differently to us than if you were just listening to this, because we've got that digital eye contact. People are attracted to people, and people are attracted to human stories. So tell your customers stories. Don't use their names without permission, of course. Yeah. But we've got funny stories, more heartwarming stories, amazing stories happening every day. Use that in your messaging, in your social media, in your, again, in all of the things that you're doing, in your marketing, because that's, again, we're human people dealing with people. But again, I really hope everybody will grab this resource. It's got some of these, little tips and tricks in there. If you're not part of the Total Expert family and you're listening, we are an enterprise level software. Hopefully we got some family members on here. But hey, send along this article or just, shoot me a DM. I'd love to get in touch with your folks. And if we can show them what we do here at Total Expert and consider bringing you into the family, if it's a fit, that would be our honor.
Oh man, that was like a mic drop. Like, I don't even want to say it. That was like, I'm out. Sue just hit it. Like, that was perfect. It's people helping people. That's what you and I are all about, Sue. That's why I do my show. That's what being the chief evangelist for Total Expert, it's people helping people. We understand at the fundamental levels is all of you mortgage professionals out there is you are helping the American people achieve the dream of homeownership. That you're helping them through that journey. Yes. And Sue and I are just here to help you. We want to make it easier. We want to make it more efficient. We want to help you build those relationships. We want those. Every time you close a transaction, every time you help somebody achieve that dream, we want you to be there at the top of that person's like, hey, Sue is amazing. She absolutely made that journey incredible, unforgettable, if you will. So Sue, you are amazing. I cannot thank you enough. And like Sue mentioned, click the link below. Like I said, you can see the link. Go check it out. Share it with your friends. We want to help you all become better. And if you have any questions, DM Sue. Sue is always willing. She's busy. She will get back to you, but she's always willing to be there for you and be supportive.
Absolutely.
So Sue, thank you so much for joining me today. You're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
The spectacular Sue Woodard, ladies and gentlemen. Always an absolute pleasure. And again, you can look forward to seeing Sue and I on the road coming up here very shortly. We have lots of events coming up, so we look forward to seeing you guys in person. Cross our fingers. And we will have that one-on-one, that human interaction as we always enjoy. With that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred. Go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See ya.